The air feels heavier the moment Evelyn steps through the wrought iron gates of the Marlowe estate, as if the house itself remembers what she was made to forget. The driveway winds through trimmed cypress and pale marble fountains, every inch polished for a dinner she was barely invited to. She's been gone 4 years. Long enough for her name to fade from conversation, long enough for her brothers to replace it. The windows glow gold against the dusk, laughter echoing faintly through the glass like a language she once spoke. Her heels crunch against gravel as memories rise uninvited. The last Christmas, her mother's cold hand on her shoulder, her father's eyes turned toward Caleb, not her. She tells herself she's here for formality, for closure. But when she sees her reflection in the mirrored door, she recognizes a ghost returning to its own funeral. The dining room glows like an altar of privilege. Crystal decanters, candlelight trembling on glass, laughter rehearsed and brittle. Evelyn's seat is near the end of the table, far from her parents, closer to the guests than kin. Caleb dominates the conversation, his voice polished, his charm almost military in precision. Every time Evelyn opens her mouth, Margaret redirects the topic with surgical grace. She laughs softly at herself, realizing how invisible she's become even while sitting among them. When her father finally acknowledges her, it's to comment on her lateness, not her presence. The food tastes like paper. The candles burn low. She feels herself shrinking, the walls closing in with each toast to the Marlowe legacy, a legacy that no longer includes her. After dinner, Evelyn slips away from the crowd, her heels echoing down the marble hall like memories knocking from the past. She passes the grand piano, untouched, the smell of polish and old wood clinging to the air. On the wall, portraits of generations gaze down in frozen judgment. The stalked old front mix, the one that used to hold her face, a family photograph from years ago, is replaced by one with Caleb standing in her spot, his smile confident, her absence unnoticed. She runs her fingers over the empty nail where her image once hung, her pulse catching like breath on cold glass. This is what erasure feels like. Not death, but rewriting. Margaret finds her in the hallway, her perfume entering before her presence. "You always were nostalgic, darling," she says, voice dipped in honey but sharp enough to draw blood. Evelyn turns, forcing a smile. Margaret's gown glitters under the chandelier, her elegance so complete, it almost hides the cruelty beneath. "It's just a photograph," her mother adds, dismissive. "We had new ones made after Caleb's promotion. It felt appropriate." Evelyn nods, unable to speak. There's no room for confrontation here, not yet. Margaret adjusts her daughter's collar, an affectionate gesture that feels like control, and whispers, "Try not to make tonight about you." Then she glides away, leaving Evelyn to drown in silence. From the second-floor balcony, Evelyn looks down at the party below, glasses clinking, cameras flashing, laughter rising like smoke. She feels detached, as though she's watching her own replacement ceremony. Caleb dances with their mother, Richard applauding as if crowning a king. Arthur Hale, the family lawyer, catches Evelyn's eye across the room. His stare holds something different, an unspoken recognition. He nods faintly, almost apologetically, before turning away. For the first time that night, Evelyn senses that something deeper than favoritism binds them all. That her exile was not an accident, but design. The house hums with secrets, and she's ready to start listening. Morning filters through sheer curtains, pale and unforgiving. Evelyn moves through the parlor with a cup of coffee that's gone cold, her eyes tracing every surface as if mapping her own absence. Every photograph, every newspaper clipping, every frame that once carried proof of her life has been replaced. Caleb's graduation portrait gleams above the fireplace, the very spot where hers once hung. Her father's office door remains closed. Her mother's laughter echoes faintly from the garden. It's as if the house itself has rewritten its history overnight. polishing away every trace of her. She sets her cup down, the porcelain clicking too loudly in the silence, and whispers, "Did I ever really live here?" Outside, the roses bloom too perfectly, almost artificial against the chill of late autumn. Margaret sits with Caleb on the veranda, the two of them framed by opulence: silver teapot, fine china, a mother's curated affection. Evelyn steps out, forcing a calm smile. "Good morning," she says softly. Margaret barely looks up, offering the kind of smile that dismisses before it welcomes. Caleb smirks, lifting his cup. "Did you sleep well, Evie?" he teases, voice dipped in false concern. "It must be strange being back after all this time." Evelyn nods, every word of hers weighed before spoken. "Strange, yes, like visiting a memory that doesn't remember you." Margaret's spoon stills. A shadow passes across her face, but only for a moment. By evening, the silence feels unbearable, so Evelyn drives into town, into somewhere real. She meets Lila Carr at a corner cafe, the air rich with rain and espresso. Lila hasn't changed. Sharp eyes, restless energy, the kind of woman who sees the cracks in every mask. "You look pale," Lila says, stirring her coffee. "They still pretending you don't exist." Evelyn's laugh comes out brittle. "They're better at it now." Lila leans forward. "You know, I looked up some old Marlowe archives, press releases, event photos, foundation records. It's like you were erased from the family's public history." Evelyn's fingers tighten around her cup. The words confirm what she already knew but feared to say aloud. "Then someone wanted it that way," she murmurs. That night, the doorbell breaks the stillness of the Marlowe estate. Arthur Hale stands there, coat damp from the drizzle, eyes tired. Evelyn answers, confusion flickering through her calm. "Arthur?" she asks quiet. He removes his hat, looking smaller than she remembers. "I shouldn't be here," he says, "but there are things you should know." They sit in the study where her father never allowed her before, the fire casting orange shadows across shelves of leather-bound lies. Arthur's voice trembles as he admits, "Your name was removed from the trust 5 years ago. Your father ordered it. Your mother approved. I drafted the papers, but I wasn't allowed to tell you." Evelyn listens in silence, her breath steady, her face unreadable. Inside, a quiet storm begins. When Arthur leaves, Evelyn walks through the hall again, past portraits that now feel like tombstones. The air is heavy with perfume and memory. She stops before one of Caleb in his tailored suit. A glass of wine raised mid-toast, immortalized in his moment of triumph. She leans closer, seeing her own faint reflection in the glass overlaying his image. "Enjoy it," she whispers. "It won't last." For the first time, her voice carries no sadness, only resolve. Upstairs, the wind moans through the old vents like the house itself is beginning to confess. Evelyn returns to the mansion under a low silver moon. The corridors are quieter now, hushed as if the walls themselves anticipate her questions. She reaches her father's study. Door closed and locked for decades, and the key sits improbably in a small velvet pouch on the side table. A detail she swore she never noticed before. Heart hammering. She opens it, inhaling the scent of old leather, mahogany polish, and faint tobacco. The desk is immaculate, papers stacked with exacting precision, but beneath the pristine order, a thin envelope, worn at the edges, whispers secrets. She pulls it out carefully, revealing the original Marlowe family trust documents. Her name, Evelyn Marlowe, stares back at her in ink that no one else had dared touch for years. The betrayal she felt in every glance, every replaced photograph, every subtle dismissal crystallizes in these pages. She is not only replaced, she is legally erased. Evelyn calls Arthur, voice low but urgent. When he arrives, the mansion seems almost smaller under the weight of her discovery. He settles into the leather chair opposite her, removing his glasses. "I feared this day," he murmurs. "You weren't supposed to find out. Your father, he altered the trust so Caleb would inherit everything quietly, irrevocably. Your mother," she agreed. "They wanted no interference, no questions, no reminders that you exist." Evelyn sits on the floor, papers spread around her like broken pieces of a life rewritten. She listens, calm but furious. Arthur's hands tremble as he admits, "I drafted it all. I kept the secret. I failed you." She does not look at him. "You didn't fail me," she says quietly. "You just survived." Hours pass as Evelyn flips through the trust, scanning every signature, every clause. Hidden beneath the legalese is a clause no one had noticed. A contingency plan in case of Caleb's moral or financial failure. She realizes the irony. Her parents thought they had written her out entirely, but buried within the legal labyrinth is the exact mechanism to reclaim what they stole. Her mind races, piecing together years of subtle manipulations, the lies, the exclusions, the performance of favoritism. She touches the ink, imagining her father signing it, imagining his smug satisfaction. And now she holds the key to unmasking it all. A slow, chilling smile forms. The next morning, Caleb struts into the study, laughing at some imagined joke, unaware of Evelyn's presence behind the doorframe. "I don't know why you linger here," he says, smirking. "Everything in this house belongs to me anyway." Evelyn steps forward, calm, letting the papers fall from her hands onto the desk. Deliberate, audible. Caleb freezes, realization dawning as his eyes flick from her to the scattered documents. What? What is this?" he stammers. She doesn't answer yet. She lets the tension stretch, savoring the fear that laces his arrogance. The golden child is human after all, fragile when confronted with truths he never expected to see. That night, Evelyn sits alone in the study, papers organized into a single, decisive pile. She lights a candle, shadows dancing across the walls, and thinks of the family she once loved, of the betrayal, of the years of quiet erasure. A decision crystallizes. She could confront. She could leave quietly. She could expose everything. The truth is hers. Now, untouchable, yet dangerous. As the flame flickers, she whispers to herself, "Justice isn't revenge. It's recognition." Tomorrow, the Marlowes will see the weight of what they've done, and she will be the one holding the scale. Evelyn stands in the grand foyer, the trust documents clutched to her chest, feeling the weight of years compressed into one moment. Caleb leans against the staircase railing, smirk fixed, while Margaret's pearls glint under the chandelier as if mocking her. "You think you can change anything?" Caleb sneers, his voice sharp with disbelief. Evelyn's lips press into a thin line. Anger and calm coalesce. "I don't think, Caleb," she says quietly, deadly precise. "I know." Their parents exchange glances, unease flickering in their eyes for the first time in decades. The room vibrates with years of unspoken betrayal. Evelyn spreads the documents on the marble floor, each sheet a silent accusation. Silence stretches like a held breath, then breaks as she begins to read aloud. Not threats, not rage, but truth. Richard storms into the foyer, voice booming over the marble, shaking the chandeliers. "What do you think you're doing?" he roars, his composure shattered. Evelyn looks up from the documents, meeting his glare without flinching. "I'm holding you accountable," she replies evenly, each word like a scalpel. The patriarch's face flushes red, his hands trembling around the arm of a chair. "You were supposed to stay gone," he yells, "supposed to disappear quietly and let the legacy continue." Evelyn's eyes flash. "And you thought erasing me would fix your empire? All it fixed was your conscience. That I cannot forgive." Caleb shifts uncomfortably, realizing the foundation of his golden privilege is shaking. Margaret steps forward, voice slick with practiced elegance. "You're imagining things," she says, as if the words themselves could erase the papers. "Your father and I only did what was best for the family." Evelyn laughs, cold and sharp, the sound slicing through the opulent foyer. "Best for the family? You rewrote history, Mother. You replaced me with Caleb, polished every trace of me away, and called it love. Tell me, does it feel like love when the person you erased is standing in front of you?" Margaret falters, pearls trembling, the first crack in her flawless composure. Silence falls, thick and heavy, as Evelyn gathers the courage she never had when she was the invisible child. Caleb stumbles back, the bravado draining from his posture. "Wait, you actually have proof." His usual charm is gone, replaced by panic. Evelyn meets his gaze steadily. "Proof of what your parents always hoped you'd never see, that you weren't supposed to inherit everything. That the world you walk through so confidently was built on a lie, and now the lie is unraveling." Caleb's jaw tightens. He swallows, suddenly aware of the fragile pedestal beneath him. He realizes the house he thought was his kingdom is just walls and dust without truth behind them. Evelyn gathers the trust documents and turns toward the door, the weight in her hands lighter than the burden on her heart. Richard glares. Margaret falters, Caleb frozen. "I'm done waiting for your recognition," she says softly, voice steady and commanding. The truth speaks for itself now. She steps into the hallway, heels clicking, echoing through the empty grandeur of the estate. The family stands rooted in their guilt and shock as she leaves. Outside, the moon is silver over the estate. For the first time in years, Evelyn feels the strange liberation of being seen. Not as a shadow, not as a replacement, but as herself. Evelyn sits in a small, cluttered apartment with Lila, the rain drumming against the window pane as she uploads the first batch of trust documents to a secure server. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, heart hammering, a mix of anticipation and cold resolve. "Are you sure about this?" Lila asks, voice low, eyes sharp. Evelyn exhales slowly, a calm determination settling over her. "I've been erased my whole life," she says. "Now, they're going to feel the weight of that." With a click, the truth begins to leak into the world. The Marlowe family, once untouchable, now vulnerable under the scrutiny of law, media, and public attention. By morning, the news is ablaze with headlines exposing the Marlowe family trust scandal. Evelyn watches from a corner cafe, coffee steaming, as strangers on laptops and phones whisper and gasp. Caleb's face stares back at her from every screen, smiling in photographs, unaware of the storm now engulfing him. Margaret's socialite reputation crumbles online, a threadbare mask stripped clean. Evelyn doesn't celebrate. The satisfaction is quiet, measured. This is justice, not vengeance. She sips her coffee, letting the chaos unfold without a word. Arthur Hale appears at the Marlowe mansion the next day, coat heavy, eyes downcast. "It's over," he murmurs to Evelyn. "I resign. I can't be part of this any longer." His voice trembles, guilt and relief tangled together. Evelyn nods, expression calm, accepting but unflinching. "Thank you," she says softly. "You did what you could. Now the world sees what was hidden." Outside, the estate buzzes with reporters. The once immaculate lawns are trampled by intrusion and exposure. The Marlowe family stands stripped bare, their authority evaporated as truth spreads. Caleb paces in the main study, the weight of scrutiny pressing down on him. Calls from bankers, lawyers, media outlets, and family friends flood in. His arrogance crumbles into panic. How did she get them?" he whispers, voice cracking. Margaret hovers, trying to calm him, but even her composed veneer falters. Evelyn watches from the doorway, unseen for the moment, as the golden child realizes his empire was built on lies. and that the lies are now his undoing. The final exposure comes via Lila's article, detailing the trust alterations, the hidden clauses, and the manipulation of the Marlowe family legacy. Evelyn reads it on her phone, alone on a quiet park bench. The truth spreads like wildfire. Legal authorities begin reviewing the documents. Evelyn feels no elation, only the solemn recognition that the hidden injustice is now acknowledged. Justice has been served, not by vengeance, but by revelation. She folds the phone, watching a flock of birds scatter against the morning sky, realizing that the long shadows of her family's betrayal are finally receding. The mansion is eerily quiet now, the echo of footsteps replaced by the hum of auctioneers cataloging decades of Marlowe possessions. Velvet curtains are drawn, portraits covered in cloth, chandeliers stripped of crystals. Evelyn walks through the rooms she once called home, observing items she remembers touched by her parents' hands, now tagged with numbers and prices. Margaret hovers nearby, whispering pleas to potential buyers, while Caleb drifts helplessly behind, attempting to assert some authority that no longer exists. The house, once a monument to wealth and control, is dismantled piece by piece, the legacy of decades sold to strangers. Evelyn feels no glee, only the bittersweet relief of watching the empire built on deceit crumble under its own weight. Outside the estate, cameras flash relentlessly. Reporters shout questions at anyone willing to answer. Helicopters thrum overhead. Caleb tries to maintain composure, but each camera is a mirror, reflecting his unraveling. Each microphone a reminder of the lies he believed were invisible. Margaret's attempts at grace fail under scrutiny, the public seeing through the cracks in her polished facade. Evelyn watches from a distant corner, her silhouette still and composed. She doesn't speak. She lets the world witness the consequences of betrayal. A quiet sentinel observing justice in motion. Inside the family business offices, executives whisper in hushed tones. Boards vote to freeze accounts, banks withdraw privileges, lawyers review hidden clauses in the trust. Richard paces his corner office, red-faced, hands gripping the polished desk as years of control evaporate before him. Caleb's calls go unanswered. Margaret's social contacts abandon her. Evelyn's influence has no direct reach here. She remains in the wings, but the ripple of her actions has struck like a hammer. The Marlowe dynasty, once untouchable, splinters quietly in the dead of morning. Caleb finds himself alone in a darkened library, the bookshelves towering and silent. He runs his hands along volumes he once ignored, realizing none of them can save him. Every friend, every colleague who thrived under his privileged charm has vanished. Evelyn had never sought his ruin, but the walls of entitlement now echo with the absence of power. For the first time, he faces the hollow pedestal he once stood upon, understanding too late that inheritance without integrity is nothing but dust. Evelyn sits on the steps outside the estate as night falls, city lights twinkling faintly in the distance. Inside, her family's empire is hollow, stripped of grandeur, facing the ruin their choices brought upon them. She doesn't gloat. Her expression is serene, eyes distant but resolute. The collapse has come, not from malice, but from truth. She exhales slowly, feeling the heavy weight of years lift slightly from her shoulders. Finally, she allows herself a moment of quiet acknowledgement. She is no longer the replaced daughter, but the witness and executor of justice. Evelyn steps through the front doors of the Marlowe mansion one last time. Dust hangs in the air, swirling in golden morning light that filters through broken curtains. The echoes of laughter, arguments, and whispers of betrayal cling to the walls like stubborn shadows. The furniture is gone, the portraits torn or sold, and the grand piano is nothing but a hollow shell. She walks room by room, fingertips brushing the polished floors, silently cataloging memories that no one else will remember. For the first time, the house feels hers, not as a residence, but as a witness. She exhales, feeling the weight of both grief and liberation settle inside her chest. Evelyn moves into the garden, where autumn leaves swirl across abandoned fountains and rose beds, once meticulously pruned. Wow. She kneels beside a patch of earth her mother had once tended, running her hands over the soil, feeling the quiet pulse of life still persisting beneath decay. The garden is overgrown, chaotic, beautiful in its abandonment, mirroring her own journey. She whispers softly, "Some things survive even when the caretakers fail." The wind rustles through the trees as if in agreement, and Evelyn senses the first true stillness she has known in years. Near the fountain, Evelyn discovers an envelope tucked into a hidden crevice, her father's final confession, never revealed. The paper is brittle, edges frayed, ink faded. She opens it slowly, scanning the words he never wanted her to read. Regrets, admissions of guilt, and instructions meant to ensure Caleb's rise. She feels neither triumph nor anger, only a solemn clarity. The past has spoken its final truth. She folds the letter gently, placing it back into the envelope, understanding that some stories do not need witnesses, only acknowledgement. Evelyn lights a small fire in the stone hearth of the garden fountain, dropping the envelope into the flames. The paper curls, black smoke rising into the crisp morning air, carrying away the last remnants of her father's secrets. She watches quietly, neither smiling nor crying. The ritual is hers alone, a final cleansing, a signal that the cycle of betrayal has ended. The ashes spiral and scatter, drifting into the wind, untouchable and free. She takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of years lift further, leaving space for clarity and quiet strength. Evelyn rises from the fountain, dusting her hands, and walks along the path leading away from the estate. Dawn stretches across the horizon, painting the sky in soft golds and pinks. Behind her, the mansion fades into shadow, a relic of a life she no longer belongs to. She moves forward, each step deliberate, unburdened, yet carrying the quiet scars of her journey. Her shadow stretches long in the morning light, a solitary testament to resilience and recognition. She does not look back. Some stories must end with a step forward, not a glance behind.